Hello, and welcome back to Dr. Logic Awkwardly Does Logic in her office. Isn't the syllogistic great? It's such a lovely, compact, neat little system. We've got our four categorical propositions that can be used to make statements out of any number of claims that we want, any number of terms in the English language. We can construct beautiful little arguments. We've got a nifty way of showing that these are valid. We've got the square of oppositions, the notion of interpretation, our proof system, which we've shown in the previous videos, proves everything that we want it to prove and nothing we don't want it to prove. Why would we ever want anything more? Well, we might want something more because there are arguments out there that are intuitively good arguments. Like if I gave them to you, you would probably be convinced by them, but they cannot be represented in a syllogistic fashion. So let me give you an example. Consider the argument every number is either even or odd. Every even number is divisible by itself. Every odd number is divisible by itself. Well, therefore, every number is divisible by itself. Good argument. If the premises are true, then how could the conclusion not be true? So not only is it a good argument, it's like good to the best type of goodness ever. And yet, this is not a syllogism and it cannot be reduced to a syllogism. In particular, it has three premises, and syllogisms only have two. It also has too many distinct terms. We've got the idea of a number. We have the idea of being divisible by itself. We have the idea of being an even number, of being an odd number. We have the idea of being either even or odd. So, unfortunately, this just violates our requirements for syllogisms. Well, let's consider another one that actually has the right number of terms and the right number of premises. So, every person is human. Socrates is a person. Therefore, Socrates is human. How is this not a good argument? It's not a good argument because Socrates is not a quantified term. The statement, Socrates is a person, doesn't fit into our term language because it doesn't have the form every x is y, no x is y, some x is not y, some x is y. It just doesn't have the right shape. Now, we can extend the syllogistic so that we can handle things like proper names. We can handle things like indefinite terms. We can handle things like that thing over there. We can handle relational terms. There's actually a load of things you can do with the syllogistic to give it more expressive power and to be able to capture more of these arguments. But we're not going to do that. Instead, we are going to look at an entirely different way of approaching logic. So we are now moving towards motivating our second logical system, which is going to be propositional logic. Propositional logic is fundamentally different from the syllogistic in that the syllogistic basis are the terms and the copulae. In propositional logic, we are going to take entire sentences as the building blocks for our logical language. These are going to be the propositions that give propositional logic its name. Now, what I'm going to do in the next couple of videos is talk about the ways in which basic propositions can be combined in a way that is sensitive to logical reasoning. So I'm going to talk about four different connectives: negation, conjunction, disjunction, and implication. First, I'm going to say a little bit about how these show up in the English language. When can you recognize them? What is implication? But then after that, we're going to move both backwards in history, but also forwards in history, in that moving on from Aristotle and the syllogistic, I want to look at the next development in logic in ancient Greece, and that is Stoic logic. The Stoic logicians are often held to be the first logicians to develop a concept of proposition and a concept of propositional logic. So as a way to kind of segue from Aristotle into modern propositional logic, we'll take a little detour through the Stoics. I'm actually going to assign some Stoic reading. You can read some Sextus Empiricus and see what he has to say about logical connectives, because it's super interesting. Don't believe me? Do believe me? Check back in my next videos and find out more. See you then. Cheers.